Welcome to Waterworks. I am so excited that you've connected with us today. My name is Ann Scott Clement and I'm joined by Jackie Black. Jackie has designed a wonderful project for you and your family to create at home. She will lead us step by step through the process. This ARTstop activity is inspired by photographer Lorraine Turry, whose work is featured in our current exhibition, Creative Habitats. Jackie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Ann Scott. The art project that we are going to create was actually inspired by the work of artist and photographer Lorraine Turry. Lorraine travels to the location where a species was last seen and takes a photograph of the exact spot. The photographs are a memorial to the species lost and a reminder to those of us who remain. And now for our art project. Fun fact, the North Carolina Zoo actually has an art collection. And we're going to imagine they have commissioned or hired you to be an artist that will create a piece to be in their art in the park. This little bird is actually a paper relief sculpture. Believe it or not, both of these sculptures are made entirely of paper. Paper relief sculpture is a combination of two-dimensional art, think of a painting, and three-dimensional art. Think of a sculpture, something that you could actually walk around and view from many different angles. Actually, you could think of a relief sculpture as a sculpture that you can mount on a wall. The artist's name is Calvin Nichols, and he uses paper to sculpt. The image you see now gives you an insight into how Mr. Nichols layers paper to construct his animals. This bear, its claws, its nose, even its fur are paper. The leatherback sea turtle is one of the species found on the North Carolina Endangered and Protected Species list. These turtles are the inspiration for our paper relief sculpture projects. You may have seen clips of the baby sea turtles as they hatch from eggs beneath the sand, then scramble towards the ocean to begin their new little lives. And here is an example of our sculpture. Like Mr. Nichols, our sculptures will capture the light, allow it to play over the surfaces and forms, and create depth and dimension. Here are some of the materials that you're going to need for your activity today. We're going to start with your papers. You're going to need white paper. This is the paper that you're going to fold to make your relief sculpture. You're going to need a background piece of paper, and both of these need to be thick paper, especially your background. And perhaps I've used a piece of paper that's been painted, but you can use cardboard or construction paper, anything that sort of looks like a beach, something that you could turn into a beach that's satisfactory to you. We've got white glue, we have a pair of scissors, a pencil, a template. This is what you're going to use to trace onto your paper to make your turtles. And we have two very special tools. The white tool is called a bone folder or a bone tool, and the tool below it is called a ball stylus. Tools you could use instead of the bone tool are a plastic knife, popsicle, butter knife, and a spatula. All of these would be good substitutes to use to score your paper. Now I have for you some ball stylus substitutes. So I actually kind of went on a scavenger hunt in our kitchen. I found these metal measuring spoons. You can use the rounded end of these. But I also came across these plastic spoons, measuring spoons, and what I really like about them is they have those rounded spoons shaped like the ball stylus. You can also use a screwdriver with a small rounded curved end, as well as a marker. Anything that sort of has a rounded end that you can use to rub your paper would be good. I have found several items that would be a good substitute for your foam pad. You're going to use the foam pad underneath your paper when you're using the ball stylus to curve and contour your paper. And several things would be good for that. Newsprint. Got some newsprint under here. A magazine. A writing pad. And this is also a mouse pad. So if you have a mouse pad, that would also be a good substitute for the foam pad. Go on a scavenger hunt in your home. Anything that you can use that would substitute, and try it out before you actually do the project. Try it on a piece of scrap paper before you actually use it to see if it gives you the results that you're looking for. Okay, let's get started. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my piece of white paper. This is what we're going to use for our paper relief sculpture. And I'm going to turn my paper the long way, and I'm going to fold the bottom to the top. I'm going to fold the paper in half. I like to put my edges together, make sure they don't move so I get a nice fold. And then I'm going to take my template. I'm going to put it on top. I'm going to take my pencil, and I'm going to trace my turtle template onto my white paper. I want to make sure that the pencil is touching my template all the way around. There. Next step, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut out my template while the paper is still folded. That way I'm going to have two turtles when I finish cutting this out. Remember, our project is based on the leatherback turtles, the babies, as they are coming out of the sand. They've just been born and they're making a mad dash to the ocean so that they can begin their new lives. So that's why I wanted to have more than one turtle. I'm not thinking of these turtles as adults. I'm thinking of them as baby turtles. So I wanted more than one mini turtles. Okay, now I have two turtles. Now it's time to use the bone tool. I'm going to score the paper with the bone tool. The first score lines line up with the turtle's front flippers. Next, I'm going to make curved score marks, and I'm going to make sure they line up with the turtle's shell. To have a nice shape. Now I'm going to make a second score mark right beside the first one. I'm going to go ahead and score the turtle's head because we are going to pinch that so that looks more three-dimensional. Now I'm going to make a score line from that first score where the head is down to the bottom of the turtle. I'm going to make a score on the left and a score on the right. Now that I have all my score marks, I'm going to make my folds. And I like to start with the head. I'm going to bend that head back on that first score mark, and then I'm going to keep it folded and fold the second score. Then do the same thing with the flippers. I want to make sure I only fold the paper where I've made the score marks. And then I'm going to fold the flipper up. Other side, making sure I crease the paper only where I've folded it. And then I'm going to crease the paper up. Same for the bottom flippers, fold it. Fold that flipper all the way back. And then crease and fold again on that second score mark. Last flipper, fold that paper on the curve all the way down, and then fold it back. Now you see the turtle has become a little more three-dimensional. It's not flat anymore, but we can make it stand up even further. We can make it a little more three-dimensional. We're going to curve the back. We're going to crease those score marks on the back. Crease the score marks on the turtle's back. All right. Better. Now I'm going to pinch that head because I don't want the turtle's head to be flat. I want it to have a little bit of dimension as well. So I'm going to curve, fold that curve, fold the other curve, and sort of pinch it so that the turtle now has a head. It looks like it's underneath the turtle's shell, but it's sticking up. Next step, the ball stylus. All right, this is my ball stylus tool. It's a metal tool with two balls on the end, and we're going to use these to help curve and contour our turtle's flippers. And when you're using this tool, it's good to have something sort of soft underneath your project while you're working. I'm going to be using a piece of just foam, craft foam. If you don't have this kind of foam at home, you could use a magazine or some newspaper print. It helps to have something soft underneath when you're rubbing those flippers. So now I'm going to turn it over, and I like to use the big ball tool because I just want a slight curve. I don't want a real big curve. I want a nice soft curve. And you see how the paper is bending and curving as I rub it, just kind of like in circular motions and back and forth. You see how that now has made that flipper curve just a bit. You see, compare this flipper to the other one. You see the curves in that and how the light is hitting the top of the flipper, and we've got that nice shadow under there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And you see how when I start pressing down, the paper starts to curl and curve a bit. Just a nice slight curve. There you go. And I'm going to do the same thing with the hind flippers. This time I think I'm going to use the smaller end of the ball tool because I have a smaller surface I'm working on. These hind flippers, they're smaller. Give them a nice little curve. Okay. And now our little turtle is standing up very nicely. And here's his other brother or sister. Got our two turtles. Now, I'm going to put these aside for just a moment. And I'm going to take our second piece of paper, which is our background. This is what I call our sandy beach. Now, this piece of paper has been painted, but you can use cardboard or some construction paper, any kind of light colored paper that kind of looks like the beach to you. This will be your background. And what I'm going to do is, you saw earlier the picture that we had of the little turtle crawling, and you saw how there were some waves, shapes in the sand that had been made by the waves. And I'd like to put that in my sandy beach, and I'm going to use the bone tool to do that. So I'm going to turn my paper over, and I'm going to just make some curvy lines, sort of like the ones I saw in the picture of the turtles on the sandy beach. I think that'll do. I'm satisfied. Yes. Now I'm going to turn, let's see. Can I see? I like to turn my paper over to make sure I can see the lines on the other side, and I can. So now I'm going to just crease my paper on those curvy lines. Oops, I missed. Go back. Fold your paper on the score marks. Fold your paper on your score mark. Fold your paper on your score marks. Fold your paper on your score mark. Every once in a while I'll turn it over to look at it to see if I'm happy with it, if I'm satisfied with it. I'm pretty satisfied with that. I don't necessarily want the lines to be perfect because the lines in the sand wouldn't be perfect, so I'm satisfied. And I'll get this last one. There's my sandy beach. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to think about how I want to position my turtles on the beach. So before I put any glue on the turtles' flippers, I'm just going to play with them a little bit till I get an arrangement that I like. I think I'm kind of satisfied with that. Let's see. I'm satisfied with that. Head down, little turtle. You got some running to do. All right. So now I've spent a lot of time making creases and making these turtles 3D. The last thing I want to do when I get ready to put my glue on is put a lot of glue in the middle of the turtle and smash it down, because then it'll be flat again. And remember, this is a paper relief sculpture, so that means we want the sculptures to be a little bit 3D. So I'm going to turn them over one at a time, and I'm just going to put one small dot of glue at the tip of each of the flippers. And then I'm going to turn it over and then hold them down and just kind of count. I'm going to count to 10 when I press as hard as I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now they're in place. First turtle is in place. First little turtle's in place. Now I'm going to get my second turtle. I'm going to turn him over, or her, dot of glue on the tip of the flippers only. And then I'm going to turn it over And do the same thing I did with that first turtle. Press those tips down, and I'm going to hold it down, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. All right, and there we are. This is our paper relief sculpture of our turtles, our baby leatherbacks, on their way to start their new life. Now remember, boys and girls, these turtles were chosen because they were on the North Carolina list of endangered and protected species. I'd encourage you to go to that website and see for yourself what kind of animals are on that list that you might want to try to make a relief sculpture of. I hope you have enjoyed the project. And on behalf of Waterworks Visual Arts Center, thank you very much for watching.